Hi there, Mr. Vessel here today, and I'd like to take today's video and look at the 2017 problem number 2 from the AP Stats exam. And what this problem is about is really just creating a one sample Z interval and then using that confidence interval to answer another follow-up question. So here we go. Here we have the prompt about manager of a local fast food restaurant concerned about customers who ask for a water cup when placing an order but fill the cup with a soft drink from the beverage fountain instead of filling the cup with water. The manager selected a random sample of 80 customers who asked for a water cup. When placing an order, found 23 of those customers filled the cup with a soft drink from the beverage fountain. And part A is construct and interpret. Construct and interpret. The word construct is going to have a lot of meaning for us here. 95% confidence interval for the proportion of all customers who, having asked for a water cup when placing an order, will fill the cup with a soft drink from the beverage fountain. So the word construct is code for name the interval, check the conditions for the interval, calculate the interval, and then we're also going to interpret it. So there's a lot to do with the construction. And in this case, it tells us what to construct, so we're going to use that to our advantage too. But for part A, we're going to make one sample Z interval for a proportion. And you can name the interval by words, or you can use the formula. I like to use both here. And the formula for a confidence interval for a proportion is going to take our sample proportion. We'll add and subtract some critical z-score, and we have to multiply that by the standard deviation, which is the square root. I probably should have made that a little bigger. P hat 1 minus p hat over n. So we have to check the conditions for this particular interval as well, and there's really two of them that we need to make sure that are met. And one that's always going to be a condition when you're checking for appropriateness of using this interval is that, was it random? So is this one met? And we were told like this is yes, because it says the manager used a random sample of 80. Oops. So we have randomness met, so that's going to allow us to use this interval with a larger group of people. So if they took a sample from 80 customers and it was random, then we'll be able to apply this to a larger group of customers. And then the second condition, we need large enough samples in order for us to be able to assume that we can use a z-score and that it's safe to use an approximate normal distribution. So in this case, it's important to just make sure that the number of people in the group who did take a soft drink is bigger than 10, and the number of people who didn't take a soft drink was bigger than or equal to 10. So we have to check and make sure that both of these numbers are bigger than or equal to 10. And it's not enough just to say yes, they're bigger than 10. You got to actually show that you check them. So in this case, we know that there were 23 customers who took soda or a soft drink. And we also know, well, we could check the calculation too. They took the 80 customers. I guess we don't have the the p-hat calculated yet. I'm just taking my 80 customers and breaking them up into the two groups here. There's 57 of them who didn't. So we have more than 10 in each group, and this is appropriate, so we have to make sure that we have enough samples here to make sure that we can use a normal distribution. And once we have that, now we can go through and calculate the probability of someone grabbing a soft drink. So we've got the sample proportion. P hat was 23 out of 80, and we'll type that in a sec here. And then we need to get this critical z-score, and in order to get the critical z-score, I'm just going to use our t-table actually, and I recommend using the t-table in all cases when doing a confidence interval, because right at the bottom you're going to have all of your confidence levels that you might want here. I think we were told 95% confidence interval, and with a proportion, we're just going to use this bottom number here. The correct z-score is 1.960. So 1.960 is our critical z-score, and then we're just going to multiply that by our square root of 23 over 80, and 1 minus 23 over 80 over 80. When we type this in, it might actually be a little more convenient just to get the decimal version of this. So if we want to use the 0.2875 when we type this in, it might be a little bit easier to work with. So let's see what this confidence interval is going to give us here. I'm going to have to type it in twice. Oops. I like to use the fraction button here. So we're going to use the 0.2875. 1 minus 0.2875 over 80. So we get the upper bound here, 0.3867. And we're going to get the lower bound here, and it's pretty quick to let's use the last thing we typed and just change this plus to a minus. 1883. Alright, so now we're ready to interpret. We've got our two endpoints here, and interpretations for these. We're going to use some similar form, but we always have to make sure we put it in context here. So we're 95% sure the true proportion of customers who fill their cup with soda, a soft drink, after they asked for a water cup, is between 0.1883 and 0.3867. And we could convert these into the percentages, or you leave them as a decimal. Either way, either one's good. 38.67%. Kind of a wide range for a confidence interval, and you see like it's a 20% difference. It's a pretty wide range. That's really just because of the small sample size. I mean, it's big enough to do this confidence interval, but a sample size of 80 is not incredibly large, and it causes the wide variability in this confidence interval. And then with the final part here, with part B, we're going to use this confidence interval. It says the manager estimates, that each customer who asks for a water cup but fills it with the soft drink costs the restaurant 25 cents. Suppose that in a month of June, 3,000 customers ask for a water cup when placing an order. Use the confidence interval constructed in part A to give an interval estimate for the cost of the restaurant in the month of June for customers who ask for a water cup but fill the cup with a soft drink. So it's really just a matter of converting stuff. So from part A, and it says use your interval in part A, so even if you don't have the right numbers for part A, you can still use this interval and get full credit here. So we had 0.1883 to 3867 as our estimate for the true proportion here. And basically we just want to convert this. So this is a proportion, or they're both proportions. And we are asked to give another interval here. It says use the confidence interval to give an interval estimate for the cost. So we just got to convert this into a cost. So in order to do that, let's just figure out first, like, how many people are we talking about here? So if we can estimate 3,000 customers, we could just take our confidence interval and multiply each of these things by 3,000. So the interval is going to give us 565. I'm just going to show you what I mean here. 883 times 3,000 464.9. And then the 0.3867, multiply that by 3,000. This will give us an upper bound for an estimate. And again, it's an estimate. It's okay to use a rounded off number here. So these, oops, I should have written down how I got that, are customers. So we can take our proportion and multiply it by n. So this right here is giving us an estimate for the number of customers in June. Who will take a soft drink. And then our final job here is to convert this into a cost. So we know it's an approximate of 25 cents for every customer who does this. So we're going to take the 564.9 and we're going to multiply it by 25 cents. And we're going to do the same thing with the upper bound here. Multiply that by 25 cents. And we'll see what we get for those numbers. Our upper bound is 290.0. We'll go to 3 cents here. And the lower bound, 141.23. So this will be our cost for June, and we're 95% sure that the cost for June will be somewhere between 141.23 and $290.03 dollars here. And that's all there is to part B. Well, that was from part B. Is just estimating the cost for June based off of your interval for A. So the important thing is really just converting the proportions into a cost for the month of June. So hopefully this was a helpful task for you to look through and think about. And I thank you for checking out this video. Please feel free to check out some more, maybe subscribe, and thank you for checking this out.